U.S. aviation regulators have ordered the temporary grounding of the Boeing plane model involved in the Alaska Airlines frightening mid-air incident. The Federal Aviation Administration order impacts 171 Boeing 737 MAX 9 airplanes operated by U.S. airlines or in U.S. territory. The federal agency says it is requiring immediate inspections of certain planes before they can return to flight. According to the FAA, the required inspections will take around 4 to 8 hours per aircraft. Now, the incident itself happened last night. Part of the cabin panel blew out on a flight that was traveling from Oregon to California yesterday. The plane was carrying 171 passengers and 6 crew, and the pilot was able to make an emergency landing. Meanwhile, some of Canada's largest airlines are reassuring passengers in the wake of the incident. Air Canada says WestJet says they don't operate the Boeing MAX 9 aircraft and use the MAX 8 instead. The airlines say the mid-cabin exit door involved in the blowout is not present on the MAX 8. Air Transat says it also does not have any MAX 9 planes as part of its fleet. For more on all of this, I'm joined by John Gradek, faculty lecturer in aviation management with McGill University. It's good to have you tonight. Thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure to be here with you.
So what is going on with Boeing right now? It seems as though the company has been kind of plagued with different safety issues over the last couple of years.
It's not been a good time for Boeing these days. They've had problems on some of their other wide-body fleet types, 787, the 777X. And now another problem on the 737. So it is not good news for Boeing, and we're trying to figure out whether this is a manufacturing issue, a airline issue, whatever the issue is. There's a lot of investigation that's going to have to happen to finally figure out what's caused this problem.
Right, because there is so many different safety checks that, as you say, the manufacturers have to make, but also the airlines have to make to make sure a plane is safe to go into the air. But when we're seeing this, it's all about the Boeing 737 MAX jet. It's been under so much scrutiny over the last few years, and experts are saying because of that, it should be safer now, yet there still seems to be issues with its safety.
Yeah, the airplane itself is a good airplane. It's been around for 50 years, and maybe that's not a good thing. That, they basically have taken this airplane, which is a very proven design, made modifications to it, and got these MAX airplanes in place, and that's where we're seeing some of the issues. The issues are not with the core airplane that we've had for decades, but it's with the newer airplanes, the new variants on the airplane. So whether it was the MCAS system back in 2018, whether it's a de-icing system on some engines, whether it's a bolt issue on some of the rear ailerons, and now this panel. So there seems to be an issue with how Boeing is either designing the new variants on the airplane or how they're manufacturing it. And I think the FAA is about to make some noise about that one.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But why then, if you say the original model is really great and it's the kind of the adaptations that Boeing is making to these newer models that are the problem, which is what we've seen. I mean, there's that old adage, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Why doesn't Boeing just go back to the original model and just keep it that way?
They're not fuel efficient. They're not. They have all kinds of the avionics on those airplanes are old. My nephew flies a 737-200 for Air Inuit. It's a 40-year-old airplane, and now they've decided to move it up to a 737-800 because of fuel and because of weight. So that airplane needed some modifications in order to make it compliant with today's operating environment, and so they had no choice but to bring in this new airplane. Boeing decided to tweak the design of the 737 rather than build a brand new airplane. And now we're seeing that might have been one of the issues that Boeing is facing with this airplane.
Okay, that does make sense, though, actually. And it feels as though, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels as though we're seeing more plane issues and crashes in the last few years. Is that actually the case, or does it just feel that way with the era of cell phones and having Wi-Fi on planes being able to capture every situation that might happen?
Media attention on aviation is huge. So, anytime you have a little incident, no matter what type of incident it is, and this week has been pretty bad. We had the Japan Airlines flight on Tuesday in Tokyo. We've had the flight yesterday on Portland to Ontario. It is, aviation is really, making some very, very big leaps forward in terms of technology and efficiency and productivity. And that means that we're going to have some hiccups along the way. But Canadians and travelers around the world can rest assured that, flight and commercial aviation is the safest mode of transportation we have today. And the regulators, the operators, the builders all try to make it happen. Unfortunately, we've had incidents like this one today that kind of shakes our trust, but hopefully they'll be able to find the answers to this problem quite quickly.
As someone who is becoming more of a nervous flyer as they get older, I appreciate hearing that, John. Just very, very quickly before I let you go, you said we'll have to wait and see what happens next with the FAA and this plane in particular. Do you think this plane is going to be grounded, or do you think the safety checks they're doing right now will be enough?
It's enough. I think it's enough. I think it's going to take, the FAA says, 4 to 8 hours per aircraft to get them checked out and back into play. They've noted of the 65 airplanes that Alaska grounded last night, 18 are now back in the air. So they've got another 40 some odd airplanes to do. And I figure that by Monday morning, all of those airplanes will have been cleared to fly. So a short-term blip, but yes, it is scary. And it was very scary for those passengers on board the airplane last night. So not to be taken lightly. The FAA and Boeing are going to have to answer some pretty tough questions.
Okay, always appreciate having you on. It's great to get your insight. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Have a good evening.
You too. That is John Gradek, faculty lecturer in aviation management with McGill University.